What really happened to Dele Alli? At 21, Dele Alli looked destined to become one of England's defining footballers. He was scoring from midfield, embarrassing defenders with fearless skill, and competing for the biggest prizes with Tottenham Hotspur. He had already won the PFA Young Player of the Year award twice. Then, while he should have been entering his prime, Dele almost disappeared from elite football. By 30, he was without a club. How did a player who appeared to have everything fall so far, so quickly? And where is Dele Alli now? Bamidele Jermaine Alli was born in Milton Keynes on the 11th of April, 1996. He joined the MK Dons Academy at 11 and made his senior debut 5 years later. Dele was tall, technically gifted, and unusually brave in possession. He could win the ball in midfield, carry it forward, and arrive in the penalty area at exactly the right moment. During the 2014-15 season, everything accelerated. Dele became a central figure in an MK Dons team chasing promotion from League One. One of the defining nights came in August 2014 when the club defeated Manchester United 4-0 in the League Cup. The result shocked English football, but the teenager in midfield did not look overwhelmed by the occasion. By the end of the campaign, MK Dons had earned promotion and Dele had been named the Football League's Young Player of the Year. Tottenham had already seen enough. They signed him in February 2015 and allowed him to finish the season on loan in Milton Keynes. When Dele arrived permanently at Tottenham that summer, few expected him to become a Premier League star immediately. Yet Mauricio Pochettino had built an ideal environment for young, aggressive and intelligent players. Dele was not used as a traditional central midfielder. He was given permission to press, combine with Christian Eriksen and Son Heung-min, and make late runs beyond Harry Kane. That role brought out his greatest strength. He could sense space before defenders realized it existed. His first Premier League season produced 10 goals and 9 assists. He scored a spectacular spinning volley against Crystal Palace, announced himself for England and played with the swagger of someone who had skipped the usual learning period. He was named PFA Young Player of the Year and selected in the league's Team of the Year. This was no longer a promising teenager having a lucky run. Dele had become one of the most productive young midfielders in Europe. The following season was even better. Tottenham challenged for the title and finished second, while Dele scored 18 Premier League goals. He won the PFA Young Player award for a second consecutive year, joining a very small group of players to achieve that distinction. At the same stage of their Premier League careers, even famous English midfielders such as Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard and Paul Scholes had not matched his combined totals for goals and assists. Real Madrid were regularly mentioned in transfer stories. For Tottenham supporters, however, he appeared to be part of a young core that could remain together for years. His style made him unforgettable. Dele was inventive, confrontational, and sometimes irritating to play against. He attempted nutmegs in dangerous areas and appeared at the back post without warning. He was closer to a second striker disguised as a midfielder. That distinction later became important because his effectiveness depended heavily on the structure and movement around him. Dele earned 37 England caps and represented the country at Euro 2016 and the 2018 World Cup. In Russia, he scored against Sweden as England reached its first World Cup semi-final in 28 years. He also helped Tottenham reach the 2019 Champions League final, providing 2 assists during the extraordinary comeback against Ajax. But beneath those achievements, his momentum had started to slow. Injuries interrupted his rhythm, including repeated hamstring problems. Tottenham's team was changing too. Moussa Dembele left, Christian Eriksen moved toward the end of his contract, and the intense Pochettino system began to lose its energy. Dele's best role was difficult to reproduce when the players and patterns around him changed. His output declined, and the easy explanation became that he had lost focus. That explanation was repeated so often that it started to sound like a complete answer. It was not. Pochettino was dismissed in November 2019 and replaced by Jose Mourinho. Dele initially found goals again, but the relationship became more complicated. He moved between positions, lost his place, and was sometimes left out of Premier League squads. Documentary footage of Mourinho challenging his training helped create an image of a naturally gifted player wasting his talent. Viewers saw a few conversations, not the entirety of his life. After Mourinho came Nuno Espirito Santo and then Antonio Conte. Each managerial change brought a new system and another attempt to restart. Dele was still capable of flashes, but he no longer looked like the player who attacked space with total freedom under Pochettino. In February 2022, Tottenham allowed him to join Everton. He left Spurs after 269 appearances and 67 goals in all competitions, numbers that show how much he had achieved before his decline became the main story. The Everton move did not work. Dele made 11 Premier League appearances during the remainder of that season, mostly from the bench. He then joined Besiktas on loan. There were brief positive moments, but also injuries, inconsistent selection, and public criticism from manager Shenol Gunesh. His final appearance there came in February 2023. A hip injury and surgery then kept him away from competitive football. In July 2023, the public finally heard the part of Dele's story that football analysis could never explain. In an interview with Gary Neville, he described severe trauma from his childhood, including sexual abuse, exposure to drugs and violence, and instability at home. He also spoke about an addiction to sleeping tablets and said he had recently spent 6 weeks in a rehabilitation facility. These were Dele's own disclosures, made in his own words. They did not turn every poor performance into something meaningless, but they changed the context completely. For years, supporters and pundits had asked why a wealthy young footballer could not simply work harder and recover his form. The interview showed why that question was too simple. Elite performance does not protect somebody from unresolved trauma. Fame can even make recovery more difficult because every mistake becomes content and every absence creates speculation. Dele said he wanted to help other people by speaking openly. In doing so, he stopped being merely the subject of a football mystery and became a person explaining what had been hidden behind it. Everton continued to support his rehabilitation even after his playing contract expired in 2024. He trained at the club while working toward a return, but he never made another competitive appearance for them. In late 2024, a new possibility emerged in Italy. Cesc Fabregas invited Dele to train with Como, and in January 2025, the club offered him a contract. It was an unexpected opportunity, a different country, an ambitious team, and a coach who understood creative midfield play. Dele said one of his goals was to return to the England squad for the 2026 World Cup. He was not selected, but simply reaching a professional pitch again was an achievement after almost 2 years away. On March 15, 2025, he came on as a substitute against AC Milan. 10 minutes later, following a VAR review, he was sent off for a challenge on Ruben Loftus-Cheek. It became his only appearance for Como. In September 2025, Dele and Como ended his contract by mutual agreement. The comeback had lasted only a few competitive minutes, yet he did not officially announce his retirement. In early 2026, he returned to Tottenham as a guest and was later allowed to train individually at the club's facilities while searching for his next opportunity. As of July 2026, no new club has been announced and Dele remains a free agent. That leaves his story in an unusual place. At 30, a conventional return to the level he reached at Tottenham appears extremely difficult. His body has endured long periods without competitive football and clubs must evaluate the player he is now rather than the superstar he once promised to become. But retirement has not been confirmed and the next chapter still belongs to him. So, what really happened to Dele Alli? There was no single moment and no simple villain. His decline involved injuries, tactical changes, instability at Tottenham, unsuccessful moves, and long absences from the pitch. More importantly, it involved personal struggles the public did not understand while judging him. Reducing everything to laziness ignores both the evidence and the human being. Dele's career should not be remembered only as wasted potential. Before turning 23, he had won major individual awards, scored in a World Cup quarter-final, and helped Tottenham reach a Champions League final. He produced moments most professionals never experience. His story is also a reminder that success at a young age does not erase what came before it, and talent cannot solve every private battle. Perhaps Dele will play professionally again. Perhaps his future will eventually take him away from the game. Either way, the most meaningful comeback may already have begun when he chose to seek help and tell the truth about his life. Football once made Dele Alli famous. His honesty allowed people to see him as something more than a footballer, and wherever he goes next, that deserves to be part of how his story is told. They may leave the spotlight, but their stories never disappear. This was Where Are They? Tell us who we should cover next, and subscribe because every name has a story.